to today's episode of the S.E. Sherm Podcast, Putting the Human in Business. This podcast is part of the S.E. Sherm chapter, the premier organization for HR and talent professionals in the Sioux Empire, Midwest, and beyond.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Colleen Olson, and today on the Sioux Empire Sherm Podcast, we are going to get unfiltered with the fabulous Liz Carlson. She is a strategist, speaker, and professor with 2 decades of experience helping leaders bridge the gap between team, empathy, and serious bottom line results. So we're going to do a deep dive into her in real life framework and, get prepared for a toolkit for the messy real world situations that we all deal with.
Yes.
And to kick things off, I thought it'd be fun to do an icebreaker. So yeah, a little spontaneous. So as someone who is deeply involved in the local professional community, if you had to pick one spot in Sioux Falls that perfectly captures the heart and humor of your brand, where are we going?
Well, okay. This might be the most current trend, but I'd go to the Canopy downtown in the Steel District. The vibe, the murals, the color. As you can see, I'm big into color. It's just such an expression.
That's why I
of
wore
who
this
I am.
shirt today. I was going
to tell you, Khalid, we nailed it. JR, we did not give you the pink shirt memo. I do apologize for that.
Sorry, JR.
All right, I'm logging off now. I'm upset. We actually.
Man. There's always next time.
I was just talking about pink polos with somebody a couple days ago for a company order for breast cancer awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But I like pink. I dig pink. I've had pink polos. I've been told I look good in pink. I don't know. I don't shy away from them. But it's been a while. I'm still upset with you though for not getting the memo.
Well, I think I know what JR is getting for Christmas.
Hey-o.
Maybe an LCP branded pink polo.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Love it.
Maybe we should get some S.E. Sherm pink shirts for the awareness, get everybody in pink.
Yes.
Yeah, we could do a little fundraiser, do some good for the community, That'd be great. I do agree though. I think Canopy is pretty great. I love, what is it? There's a steakhouse there. There's a Mexican restaurant. There's a burger place. Not only that, but it just is so pretty.
Yes.
So pretty. Yeah.
Yes, it is just, it's truly that vibe that we want to capture in Sioux Falls. When people come to town, I'm like, hit the Steel District, 8th and 8th. I want them to feel all of that and experience what we know and love about DTSF.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, I just love how they've totally done a lot of really nice things downtown. It's amazing. Yeah. The Steel District
completely
is amazing. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get started here. So you recently came to talk at Sherm, and you emphasized the balance between productivity and the human connection. So in a world where AI is just constantly growing, automation of AI, what is one human-only leadership skill that managers overlook, but, it's going to become more vital this year?
Okay, this is a powerhouse question, Colleen. Going back to your questions, love them. If I had to pick one, okay, I would isolate the immense value of listening. And that is only a task that humans can complete. There is something that happens when we listen. Even right now, you and I making eye contact, we share this moment, we're attuned. And as leaders, that's our power. The power is in the presence. And research tells us year after year, the number one indicator of trust in the workforce are leaders who listen. Now, leaders are busy. I get it. I mean, we have a lot on our plate, but it really is that ROI of every conversation, that moment to check in, to attune, and to be present to the person in front of you right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. And you're right. It is overlooked a lot. I make sure when I have employees come into my office for something, I make sure that I stop what I'm doing just and focus on them. Yeah. And they really appreciate that, because I'm not just typing away and yeah, okay, whatever, but yeah.
And Colleen, that is not always the norm. I mean, I think the first thing we need to do is let our environment signal that we're listening. So you stopping the keyboard, right? Or putting the phone in the back pocket or the bag, shutting the door. That is just one simple environmental way to say you matter. and you got my
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that further leads into engagement and happiness and satisfaction. So yeah,
Yes.
love it. Love it. Okay. All right. Moving on. So you've shared how your experience raising two neurodivergent children and
Mm-hmm.
one that isn't, right? But you've kind of shared with us how this has changed your view on inclusion. So how do HR leaders move beyond just checking the DEI box, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of workflows can they develop to genuinely leverage the strengths of their neurodivergent employees?
Okay, this just makes my heart so happy that I get to talk about this, Colleen. So the neurodivergent folks make up about a third of our workforce. And while we are still somewhat unfamiliar with neurodivergencies, their neurodivergent people are everywhere. So I think the first thing as leaders is to recognize we want to access that brilliance. There are things about the wiring of the neurodivergent that they think in a different way. They have a different perspective. They multitask more successfully. Neurodivergency is really a superpower. So I think the first thing is to think of it as an asset and not the box to check. But then secondly, to approach it with safety and with belonging. So for example, teaching in college classrooms, students have to self-disclose, much like in the workforce. Employees don't come with an IEP. Right? Where it is up to them to self-disclose. So as a leader who wants to embrace that, we need to ask the right questions. Now, this can be verbally, but I would strongly recommend a secondary source, an online form or a worksheet, because oftentimes when people are alone with that document, they'll respond without the fear or without that concern for how it comes out. So questions like, how do you prefer to learn? What's your preferred learning method? These are insightful questions because they lean into, I'm somebody who needs to do. I'm somebody who prefers to listen. I don't like working with groups, or I do like working with others. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, Colleen, these questions are just as important for everybody else in the workforce as well.
Yeah.
So what's your learning preference? Other things, what's your preferred working environment? Oftentimes neurodivergencies create sensitivity to sensory input. So sight, sound, touch, smell, those are the things that will drive my kids crazy throughout their school day. And they come home and just have to decompress. And it's the same for our employees, whether they're on the spectrum, whether they're ADD, whether they're dyslexia, anxiety, all of those things, that they're taking in sensory input the entire day. So by asking, what's your preferred work environment? Now, we might learn that, hey, I do fine in groups, or I have to wear headphones, or I prefer to be off the beaten path if I can have a more quiet office. What we're doing there is we're recognizing these, but we're creating belonging and safety within them. And that's the whole piece, right? A safe environment is going to bring out the best in people, neurodivergent or not. So begin with the end in mind. We say that all the time, but if you have the opportunity to begin with a new employee in this matter, start now. If you have current employees, go back and ask those same questions, but they're also going to create that climate of inclusion and belonging. And my last thought too, I could talk all day about this, Colleen, and I promise you I won't. The accommodations are oftentimes radically simple. It might be moving a desk away from a window, supplying a pair of headphones. I think if we think of it like a physical need, like if Carol in IT has carpal tunnel, we might provide an ergonomic, wrist rest. Right. It's that same concept that so oftentimes that little thing is available. It's there. It's just a matter of connecting the dots. So I don't want employers to fear the cost or the time of the resources in the accommodations, because 9 times out of 10, it's just a simple fix that will allow that person to reduce the noise in their day, center themselves, and keep their nervous system in check to stay focused.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, I'm not even sure that a lot of employers understand or even, have even really looked into what those kind of accommodations would be, or just, the simple things. It's not going to be something huge, right? I mean, basically I know you've said you've been able to apply this to the rest of the employee population as well. I mean, we all like
Mhm.
to be heard. We all like to have structure. We like, I mean,
Yes.
whether people will agree with that or not, like people need at least a little bit of structure. They need
Yes.
you to know what's important to them.
Mm.
To me, it's like a courtesy, right? I mean, we just want to treat
Yeah.
everybody with respect and treat them all the same way, right?
Yeah.
Well, with
Well,
accommodations.
you're right. Well, and that's what I was going to say. We've shifted from the golden rule to the platinum rule.
Yeah,
If I can split that out, it's how that person wants to be treated, which might
yeah,
be different than me. I can work well in a group environment. That is my nature. Where somebody else, that might be the number one thing to cause
mhm,
overwhelm and just sack their productivity. So
yeah,
sometimes it's just, it's a space shuffle, or it's letting someone complete a task in a conference room, or having
mhm,
the freedom to take breaks. Just simple things
yeah.
like that can make the world a difference for the neurodivergent population.
Yeah, and as you're saying all these things, I already have people coming to my mind like, oh yeah, this would be good for this guy, that would be good for her, or someone in my past that
Yes.
having that kind of help could have been really great for. So
Hmm.
yeah,
And again, going back to trust,
mhm,
when that listening lends to the safety that comes with it, and you will find the most loyal, dedicated, committed employees when they really do feel seen, heard,
oh
and
yeah,
valued.
yep, I agree, I agree. All right, next question. As an adjunct professor at USF, you see this new generation of
Hmm.
kiddos. I say kiddos, but I mean they're young adults.
They
You
are,
know,
yeah.
you see them coming up the ranks, entering the workforce as professionals. What is the biggest gap that you see between
Hmm.
how students are taught to communicate and what the real world, like
Hmm.
corporate environment, actually requires from them?
I think the first the deer in the headlight moment for these new entrants into the workforce, our Gen Z population, is just the speed at which the business world moves.
Mm,
Decisions are made quickly versus academically, where a full semester calendar is laid out and everything runs lockstep and builds in real time. But what that translates to oftentimes is that new employee not quite yet trusting themselves,
mm,
that rational thinking in the moment when the answer isn't right there, when there isn't
mm.
a textbook to go to, when there isn't a professor encouraging you, leading you to the right response.
Right.
So, yeah, so I think as a leader, it's important for us to create those mentorships, be that with us or somebody else, where we can attune to them and understand those hesitations, those moments of, I think I have this, but I'm not sure. That's where, as leaders, it's our job just to, wrap them in support and encouragement to trust themselves.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What came into my mind too was we've all taken, I feel like I talk about this all the time. We've all taken the DISC assessment and all those things about how people interact and like I'm an
Yeah.
extreme activator, right? So like
Okay.
I'm always like, let's go, let's get it done,
Do this.
Yeah, but it kind of seems like the maybe this population of kiddos is more I don't know. Why do you think that is? Like, do you have an idea
Mhm.
of like why they're maybe not as I don't want to say self-starter, but maybe that would be appropriate.
So, something about Gen Z is they really value relationships.
Mm,
Mentorship programs have had great success in the workplace. Gen Z population really is drawn to an authentic leader where it's more relationship based versus
mhm,
position based. And I think, the premise of that is Gen Z is not necessarily loyal or committed to an organization. They
mhm,
know they're going to go to work, but it's about the relationship, about
mm.
the space that carves out for them. Gen Z is really seeking more of a community than we've seen in past generations.
Yeah, yeah, and that takes time to build. So
Yes,
yeah, so I can see how that would be that would
yes,
make getting work done difficult, right?
yes. And Colleen, I have to just bring up one other challenge when we jump from the academic world to the workforce. It is communication.
Hmm.
In our academic studies, we are taught and encouraged that more is better.
Mm,
8 to 10 pages, right? Minimum, those sorts of
yeah,
things. And then we get to work and our proof of value switches. Your leader might say, give me 3 to 5 bullets, how we're
yeah,
going to implement this. So I think that
yeah.
also goes back to trusting yourself to distill your thoughts, okay, and really winnow it down to, okay, here's what matters, versus in an academic setting, like, I want to tell them everything I know. Where we move to the business world and it's like, just tell me what I need to know.
Yeah, because they're like, I don't got time for that.
Right. And that when in my workshops, I'm just very honest, like, let's be real. We don't read word for word our emails. I mean, it's about writing in a skimmable way. And so it comes out twofold. It's how we communicate, but it's also how we write. I think that that's a big challenge in the leap from undergrad graduate work to the workforce.
Yeah, I can also think of someone who sends these big, long emails with graphs, charts, pictures, everything. And I said to her, do you think people are reading this email? I mean, I'm not kidding. There must have been like 20 pictures, graphs, and typed information. And she was like, well, I think some people are. And I'm like, I can guarantee, like, I didn't even want to read it because it was so long. I like, when it came through to my email and I saw the depth of it, I was like, I don't really want to read this. Like, my head got overwhelmed and I was like, no, I don't like this.
Okay. So Colleen, you just spoke on behalf of the entire workforce there.
Yeah.
When we open up an email, a good rule of thumb is try to contain it to one screen.
Yeah.
If the reader has to scroll on, they hit that overwhelm and they file it to read later, which oftentimes is read never. Right?
Yeah.
So one screen, and then, in the past we called it white space. That's just simply you want more of the white screen than you want words. Now, we can call that black space now if you prefer black contrast. But when somebody opens up a document, if they see more white or black space, it's this nonverbal sigh of relief that I can get through this. I can give this a glance. So we're always wanting to use nonverbal elements to put the reader at ease. Headings, bold font, bullets. Again, nonverbal sighs of relief. Like, okay, I can skim this and I can glean the meaning.
Yeah, I think, gosh, super, super important. So anybody out there listening, no more long emails, no more unnecessary longness.
Exactly. Your people will thank you.
Yeah, so funny. All right, so most people focus on what they say, right? But you highlight how it's said through paralanguage. So what, I mean, first of all, I'm not really familiar with paralanguage. Second of all, what's the common vocal habit that most leaders overlook, and how does fixing it improve how their message is received?
Good question. Okay, let's just frame this up a little bit. We know through research that the value or the meaning of our message, over 90% of the meaning comes nonverbally. So it's what you see. It's what you hear within the words. So paralanguage is everything but the words. It's the nonverbal elements in your speech patterns. Okay. So it's how fast you talk or how slow you talk. Okay. It's the tone you take. Okay. It's the pitch, if you bring it up or you bring it down. So tone is the biggest, it's the hero or the zero in that whole mix, right? Okay. Tone is the truth serum. So our tone is leaking out how we feel about the subject matter.
Yeah.
It just can't help it.
Like you're excited.
Yes. Non-verbally, we are bad liars. So we tell the truth in our tone. Now, we come into this world nonverbal. For nearly the first 2 years of our life, we are fed, loved, entertained while exchanging very few words. So in any communication situation, we trust the nonverbal. And in this case, the nonverbal is the paralanguage. It's everything but the words within the delivery of them.
Okay. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, okay, I've always been really good at reading the room, reading people, because I'm one of those people, maybe it's like an empathetic quality or something, but
yes.
Yeah. So if I feel like, what is going on here? I don't know that I like this. Somebody's got a problem. Somebody's unhappy. But also, I am the worst liar because my face always gives it away. So I'm horrible. It's, like
an attribute to your character, Khalid. Exactly. That's what is the great Scarlett O'Hara quote. It's not my words, it's redemption, right?
Yeah.
Like it just does not lie. But also, Colleen, just seeing you right now on video, and for those of you listening, like Colleen is smiling, your head nodding, you're engaged, laughing. You are making this conversation so because of that.
I know, we're having a good time.
Yes, heck yeah.
I'm like, so you want to go to Canopy sometime, Liz?
Let's do that. I feel like there's a glass of wine with a view in our future.
Okay, I love it. I like it. I like it a lot. So now that we've found out what paralanguage is, then is there a certain habit that is maybe over the other ones that is something that could improve how they, the message is received then?
Absolutely. Okay, let's go back to tone.
Mm-hmm.
So tone is made up of rate, your rate of language. It's made up of your volume, and it's made up of your pitch. So oftentimes in leadership, we're busy. We got all these to-do lists as long as both our arms. So sometimes our affect comes out pretty flat. I need you to do this. Just complete the task.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But the power is in the delivery. How you say it is how they're going to respond and feel about it. So if we use a flat, irritated affect, that's how our people receive it. So tone is that piece, folks. I cannot implore enough. Lean into it. And when you care about what you do and where you work and the people around you, it's natural. It's easy. But I think the first step, though, to get your tone in line is just to be where our feet are. Be present, because it's our mind that is either operating in the past or operating in the future, where we're not utilizing that moment right now with the person or the team in front of us. When we can get present, we can deploy our own emotion, our affect, and be in the moment.
Yeah, what comes to mind is multitasking. And I know some people say, like, I'm great at multitasking, but I feel like I've seen studies years and years ago saying that nobody can really multitask well because something gets dropped, right? And if you're talking to somebody while you're thinking of something else, they can probably tell that, and they're like, well, he doesn't really care,
That's it. Like, that's how our message is received. And as leaders, how people receive the message is how we send it. It is our responsibility. The onus is on us to treat that message how we want them to treat it and approach the tone accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like, to piggyback, I think one of the worst things that I don't like, kind of a pet peeve of mine, is when somebody is like, they're not really listening. They're thinking of what their response is going to be, And so you're like, did you, like, wait a minute. Like, I'm not done talking yet. Like, you're cutting me off because you're just so excited to be like, I went to Europe too, or, whatever. Right.
Yes. On a bigger plane. It was a faster plane. It was a bigger plane. And I said, like the one-upsmanship. Yes.
Yeah. It was huge. It was marvelous.
So, Colleen, I love that we stumbled upon this concept because it's something that's so dear to my heart. As I mentioned, that number one skill that is needed is listening. And I think oftentimes you said it, we listen to respond, we listen to refute, we listen just long enough to find like a little wiggle room in the conversation and butt in. But true listening has one goal, and that is just simply to learn.
Yeah.
So when we are in that moment, and trust me, we all go there of like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this. I have so much to do. You have one goal. Your goal is to learn. And what we're really trying to learn is that other person's perspective, because that's where shared understanding is created. And then that's where the psychological benefits of feeling heard happen. So to just, again, be where your feet are. The power is in the presence. When we're listening to learn, it's not about anything we're going to say or do. It's just simply to understand that other person's lens.
Yeah. All right. So next question. So your tagline, which I think is so great, mentions delivering growth with heart, humor, and serious results. So for a leader who feels that they have the heart, but struggles to get the results, right? The serious results, especially when holding people accountable. I mean, that's not fun anyway, right? But what is the first step to change that communication style?
The first step to change it is to over communicate. And I know that teams are like, whoa, where are you coming from? We haven't heard from you much. But again, that's our responsibility to over communicate. And when I teach this, I liken the leader to the GPS. Okay. We live and breathe with GPS now. It takes the headache, the fear, the stress out of travel immensely. That's what communication does in your workplace. So as the leader, okay, just like a GPS, type in the address. And what I mean by that is, let's say we are communicating a new project rollout. We need to explain to them, this is the end goal. This is the end result. This is why it matters. And then secondly, after we've typed in the address, we have to select the route, just like we do on our GPS. We need to show our people how to get there. You know, sometimes we drop, here's where we're going, but they don't know what that looks like. So to explain the route, also you think of GPS, an estimated arrival time. We all want to know and understand, how long does something take? You know, what do I have to give? What do I gain from this? Explain to them the timeline, right? And then plan necessary stops. For me, that's a coffee and a potty stop on any road trip, right? But in the workplace, we gotta plan for the shortage of resources, the extra time that it takes. And here's the real kicker, Colleen, is we have to be communicating through and in all of these steps. And when we over communicate, that isn't to drive your people crazy. It's to give them security. When we over communicate, there is this, okay, you know, she's got my back. We know what's going on. And it creates this trust and this back and forth exchange. So for leaders who feel like, this hasn't been my strong suit, it is okay. Communication is like anything else. If you are an athlete, if you're a musician, if you're a performer, you train. You train, and you take the reps and build that muscle memory. Communication is no different. And it's perfectly okay to tell your team that. Like, I know this is a challenge area of mine and I'm committed to get better. So communication is going to look different moving forward. People respect that honesty because they probably likely know it's a shortcoming.
That reminds me of, you said in your presentation to us, like 20 times, right? Is how many times you have to tell somebody before they really remember it. And I know a lot of us were kind of groaning like, oh. But I mean, it's so true though. And then I think writing stuff down too also helps, you know, with memory. But yeah, that just the telling somebody something, like, you tell them once, they're probably going to screw it up if you don't remind them again and again. So,
okay, you hit on the most important thing. For those of you listening that were not in the room on Tuesday, it takes the average human 5 to 7 exposures to information for it to register. I'm not saying remember, I'm saying acknowledge it. And it can take upwards to 20 exposures to new info before it's remembered, before it transfers to long-term memory storage. So knowing that, okay, we just got to get into our broken record era, right? To some extent. But the other things we can do to increase that retention is deliver it in different ways. You know, if let's go back to this project. If I am leading this project initiative, this conversation is then followed up in an email and a strategic plan is written. And it's a shared document where we can all go in and add updates and make it transparent and see what our team members are doing. Communication is living and breathing. It's not I said it and it's done. And I think that mindset, when we can get over that like, I said that. I know I told them that. We covered that in a meeting. You did. You absolutely did. But again, yes, it's the human in all of us. We need that repetition.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, next question. You emphasize that leadership doesn't mean losing yourself, but becoming more of who you are. For an emerging leader still trying to find their professional voice, how do they distinguish between unfiltered and unprofessional? Like, I think this is super important.
Okay, this is a powerful question, and I'm going to try to do justice to it. Okay. So looking back in my leadership journey, my first leadership role, I was 24. And I thought leadership meant I had to have all the answers. I had to be the go-to. I had to be, Josie on the spot, at the ready to help. Mm-hmm. But I learned through trial and error that people don't need me to fix everything. They need my presence. They need my encouragement. But my lesson in this, and this is actually my point, Colleen, I promise you I'm getting there, is I think our first step is to really determine authentically who we are. And to do that, I encourage everybody to explore emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence for a leader, it's paramount. It's paramount to everything you do. So emotional intelligence is essentially the leader understanding, okay, how I react and how I behave in situations, but also how my behaviors impact the team. Okay, that's the first part. And then the second part of emotional intelligence is understanding your team members and how their behaviors directly impact others. So if you're in that, like, I'm unfiltered, but my feet are not planted, I really think the emotional intelligence piece is the first thing you have to get your arms around. You need to know who you are. And as people, we want to know, who our leader is. And that's something else. We talked about Gen Z. Gen Z responds best to an authentic style of leader. That a little bit more unfiltered, right? A little bit more edgy. Now, I think I'm here for all of that. Like, I can go unfiltered, but to be honest, we all have to wear the mask loosely, right? We got to keep the filter loose due to emotional intelligence, understanding how words and actions can impact somebody. But I think a great way to do that is state your opinion, your likes, your dislikes. Ask your team, I want your unfiltered thoughts on this. Give me a yay or nay. Tell me why. And feedback is a really powerful way to open up safety when it comes to authenticity. Now, as leaders, that's a whole different topic, but we need to be giving feedback. We just do. It is where the engagement, the growth, and really that, the harmony comes from in teams. But as a leader, something you can do authentically is ask your team for feedback. Okay. Yeah. I want your opinion. What could I improve upon? How did that land? Now, with every client I work with, I ask for feedback and I want it all. And I think when we can take the sting out of it, when we can look at it like this is intel, this is me better understanding my clients, my customers, then it shifts our mind that we want this. This is how I gain and this is how I grow. So yes, circling back to that unfiltered versus unprofessional, something fun to get this going within your team is, okay, give me a hot take, right? What's your favorite snack? Or what's the worst snack on the market? Where people can express their opinion, their likes, their dislikes in a non-threatening way. It's a small stepping stone for us to have that healthy dialogue, that healthy conflict in the workplace is to, I want to hear from you. No, I really do, Colleen. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, like I want to hear what you're into. Like, what's your jam? I can see how that would naturally leads to them building trust and then wanting to actually be candid and give good feedback instead of, nope, you're great. No problems.
And I think so I'm technically a Gen X by birth date, but raised by boomers. Okay. So, and there's just been more like baked in conformity through the generations. And in the workplace, that meant just nod and agree. Like you say jump, I say how high. And our millennials and our Gen Zs, they ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
What they're doing is raising all the boats, if I'm being completely transparent. Yeah. Like what they're bringing to us and teaching us is what we've always wanted.
Yeah. I love that though, because you're right. I mean, so many times my kids are like, why can't we do this and this? I'm like, you know what? We just can't. Okay. We just can't. I'm sorry. Catch me later when I'm not busy and we'll talk about it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So Gen X.
Yeah, absolutely.
So along with this professional voice, right? I think, as you mentioned emotional intelligence, it kind of made me think of the paralanguage. I think what kind of goes into the unprofessional is when, your body language or what's said on your face, right? Because that can convey a lot. And I was thinking kind of, how high school kids, sometimes they're like, me, and they're like picking at each other and just kind of like who's that? Or
Yeah.
want to say something snarky, and it's always like the eye rolls and the facial expressions, right? Like I kind of think of that as, I guess, inappropriate language for the
Yeah.
workforce, right? So, or
And
facial language.
yes. So circling back to nonverbals, again, people will trust what they see and feel over the most carefully selected perfect words. It
Yeah.
is all in the delivery. I do think that with increased safety and belonging, we can let the filters slip off.
Yeah.
Again, if they are wrapped in emotional intelligence, that they don't intend to hurt or harm. And I also think that's where we can have some fun at work, where humor can fall in. And humor is also a great way to build camaraderie and bring people together. For years in college, I worked at the Funny Bone Comedy Club, and then it was Nitwits. And there's synergy and laughter. Right. And that could be why I'm such a smart aleck, too. Like, I've at least been around a lot of funny people.
Yeah.
But when we laugh together, we have this like shared energy.
Yeah.
And that is such a powerful step to team building. Now, of course, humor needs to be appropriate and it not targeted. But life is funny. When we keep that lens, there's always something to giggle about.
Yeah. I know. I love a good dad joke.
Me too.
So, yeah, and like everybody who knows me knows that I love dad jokes, and I'll tell them at work. I even have I think I have like a dad joke button over on my desk somewhere over there. People will come in and they'll just like touch the button just to hear like a silly joke. But it blows my mind though when when people like check this joke out and it's like totally inappropriate, and I'm like, why would you say that to HR? Like, why would you say that?
Right. Just throwing a little line in the water there, Colleen. Want to see how you react. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, yeah, laughter is powerful, though. I love it. I love it.
And that's it. We works hard. And when we can lighten that, when we can, share some levity and laugh, that's where that synergy begins. And we do feel like, okay, we're in this together. We're a team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely like team building, gosh, we should all just go to the comedy club. Well, maybe not, because they can get kind of raunchy sometimes. Never mind. Bad idea.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to wrap things up with some rapid fire questions. So don't overthink it. Just say the first thing that comes to mind. All right.
On it.
First one, early bird or burning the midnight oil?
Early bird for sure.
Man, that is not me, but I have to force myself to get up.
But I also love a good 8:30 bedtime. So that's the flip side of it.
Yeah. No, a good day is when I'm in bed with my jammies like 9:00.
Agreed.
Okay. What's the go-to caffeine order? Coffee, tea, or maybe your Diet Coke fan?
Okay, so I drink coffee like the old men at the gas station, black and strong.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yes, I'm the cheapest coffee date for anyone who wants to buy me a coffee. Dark roast black.
Yeah, I tend to like that too. Sometimes I'll get fancy and put some cream in, but yeah, I'm not for all the designer drinks or whatever. Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
Like
on like a fun day, maybe I'll get like a dirty chai latte. That'll be my treat. Yeah. But otherwise, I'm just a black coffee girl.
Yep, there you go. All right. What's one book that actually changed how you lead, not just one that looks good on the shelf?
Well, this one might be obvious, but Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
Okay.
That's just a manifesto for any leader.
Yeah. Yeah. Like MB is really big on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love MB.
Me too.
Yeah. So cool. What's the one human soft skill that actually moves the needle?
Empathy.
Okay.
Empathy, being able to look at
communication, but no.
Yeah. Well, I had to go a little more specific, but being able to see something from somebody else's perspective is beyond valuable in leadership.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And then last question, if you weren't on stage or in a classroom, what's the unfiltered career path you almost took?
The unfiltered, oh boy. Well, comedian. No, I'm kidding.
I would love that.
Cool. I actually began my communication career in radio, interestingly enough.
Okay.
I was a DJ. which is why, Colleen, I'm like, you have that radio voice. I love it. So I began my career in radio in high school, actually, which is wild to think that an actual physical station would give a 16-year-old the keys and a microphone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I DJ'd country music my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And then I actually had a scholarship to Brown College for broadcasting. And I didn't take it. Like, it was in my lane, but it wasn't quite what I wanted.
Yeah.
That's probably my best swing and a miss career-wise. But
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to be where I am. I have a degree in education, in communication, and in business. And I found a way to wrap all those things together. So yeah, for me, I know I'm in the lane God put me in.
Okay, awesome. You kind of sound like me a little bit. Like, I have education, HR, and I was in the military, so I'm kind of like a jack of all trades here.
That's awesome.
But you know what? Like, classroom education, it really transfers pretty nicely into HR. It really does. Yeah.
Amen, Colleen. Leadership is half education. I think there's such value in just taking the time to teach. We expect people to know things, but so oftentimes have we really taught them that thing we're expecting? And that does take some time, but the dividends are so worth it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. All right. Well, great questions, great answers. Love it, love it, love it. Thanks again so much for joining. And then for everyone listening, check out Liz's website, liz-carlson.com, to learn more about in real life leadership.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming, Liz. It's been super great.
Loved our conversation, Colleen. Thank you for having me. It was truly an honor and a joy to speak on Tuesday to the room full of just, the brightest minds in the workforce.
We were so happy to have you too. All right. Take care, Liz.
You too. Thank you, Colleen.